Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Blessings and this is the Daily Brighton Podcast. We are brought to you by the Global Sports Podcasting Network. And today we are back. Brighton are back. All right. That is the word on the street. With my good friend Jamie Guerra today. So we're going to review the game and talk a little bit about what happened. But before we get into it, Jamie, how are we doing?
I'm all good, all good. I'm buzzing after this Brighton win, so good to see us back on form and kicking off the new year very, very well.
Yes. So it is 3 wins in a row. And before this game, our form in the Premier League has been terrible. But when you're in bad form, what you need is a Manchester United side to play against. So it's been 3 wins, no loss this month. United beaten again. I feel like United, are we a bogey team to United? Is that, can we
To
say
be
that
honest,
now?
everyone's a bogey team to United nowadays, but we are certainly a team that get the better of them week in, week out, every time we go to theirs at least.
Yeah, so what were your initial thoughts going into it?
Well, my initial thoughts, I thought this was a game where I felt, going into the game, I know Man United leave a lot of space in the middle, and they play Ugarte and Kobe Mainoo are left to do a lot of work. And I really thought going into this game, Ayari and Baliba would be able to shine. They would be able to have so much space. They'll have those runs in the middle where they can actually drive and be direct. And if they could win the midfield battle, then I thought the game was there for the taking. And boy, did they do that! They were phenomenal today.
Yeah, I thought the game in itself, going into it, I think all I wanted to see is a good performance again because it looks like our fortunes are turning after an absolutely torrid run, and we are seeing a few more better performances. So I wasn't I'd have taken a point going into it, but I wanted to just see a good performance and that actually us building on the previous 2 games we have won. So going into it, I was a little bit unsure, especially because we have been so inconsistent. But hey, we cannot complain with that. What a performance! Just give us a little overview, Jamie, of what you thought of the game.
Yeah, well, I thought that we clearly started off very well, and we'll touch on the goal in a minute, but we started off so quickly out the blocks, and it looked like Man United were just sleeping, like weren't really ready for the start. Then they kind of got into the game, I'd say, in the first half, but like towards the middle part, there were parts where I was thinking, oh, we're looking a bit shaky here. We're not really keeping the ball very well. Their press was actually doing pretty well in the first half. But then I felt like the more we grew into the game, the better we became. And that second half, I was I thought it was a very, very good second half from everyone in terms of intensity, in terms of not giving them any room to work or even allowing them to create any chances. Uh, I never felt under threat in that second half, and we were basically on the front foot for the entirety of it. I don't know whether they just didn't come out the blocks that well, or it's probably something the Man United podcasters are going to be talking about, like why they were so bad in the second half, even though they did a decent first half. But we were just at it at the second half, and it's something that we have seen a lot this season. I would say we've there have been second halves. Like if you look at the Man City game, I know that was a couple of games ago or a while ago, but that we came out of the second half pumping. We were so on them, and we played a completely different style. It feels like Hurzeler is really good at like rallying the troops after a difficult first half, and then like getting them out the second half to get a result or to kind of changing things that he does and the team do in the second half. He does that quite often, and that's where anyone that's wanted Fabian Hurzeler's head, by the way, they should be hanging their heads in shame because he's shown what a manager he is. Like you said earlier, no loss in a month now, and I know we've had a lot of draws, but we're clearly not losing the games, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And to go to Old Trafford, and I know United have been as well, have their own issues of being inconsistent, but it's still Old Trafford. And to
Mm,
go there and, beat them 3-1 convincingly, I think we're taking a really big step in the right direction, to be honest.
yeah.
Let's get on to my boy, Jan Kuba Minte. Um, it's so good to see him back in the starting lineup and also on the score sheet. Just give us a little your thoughts on the goal.
Well, it is good. Finally, he is producing the goods because he was also really, really good against Norwich, and I feel like that was a game where he really built some confidence. He had Jack Stacey on toast against Norwich, and we didn't get to come on here and do a podcast on it, but I was going to really sing his praises on that podcast and say just how amazingly he did. Like every time he had the ball, he like Jack Stacey back in the Norwich game had no idea whether he was going to go to the byline or cut in and shoot or whip a cross in, and he's kind of just taken his performance from that one and built on it again today. We saw the first goal, long ball from Belieber into Matoma, great touch by Matoma. Then he's like eager. He gets ahead of Mazraoui, I think it was, and is there for the square, which is all you need. But that first goal, kicking off really well, and that was kicking off the game really well and giving us a platform to be like comfortable and kind of build on from there.
Yeah, I was always a bit surprised to not see Minte getting enough minutes, and I think what Hurts has done maybe is to just try and ease him into the team,
Mm.
and I think hopefully now we can see a little bit more of him because he's dangerous. He's tricky. He's quick. He just needs to get a bit more composure. Yes, but there's definitely a player in there. And you mentioned Matoma's touch as well. What an absolutely unbelievable bit of skill that is. That is unreal.
I s-
Masrari was lost.
yeah, that was it. I said to a Joe actually a couple podcasts ago that is there anyone with a better touch? Like when the ball is coming from like a crossfield pass or a diag or a long ball that just plucks it out of the air and straight into his path or like drops it dead on his foot. I think Mitoma might be the best player in the league at doing that and probably the best player in the world at doing that. Like his foot is literally like a sponge for any diag and he showed it today. I'm glad I've got like some evidence of an actual goal, something that's actually happened from him doing that. But yeah, what an absolute brilliant touch. And it's his run that kind of creates the goal, isn't it? I want to also give another shout out to your boy Danny Welbeck. He's back in the side, and I jotted down when I watched this goal. You could see his influence on this goal because he's dropped deep into the midfield. Delit's then gone, oh, should I be following him? Then, like, very late on, he goes, oh, yeah, I'll go, like, push forward so then he can't get the ball. He's then out of position. And that's where Matoma sees that space and goes, oh, I'm going to sprint in that space. Belieber, the boy he is, the absolute genius, the master, the prodigy that he is, finds the ball, looks up, long ball, straight to Matoma. And it's like so many beautiful things that we've seen so often this season, all working together for this one goal.
Yes, all the wonderful things we've been saying. I think, yeah, as you pointed, Daniel Welbeck's movement is unreal. And I think we've seen that kind of move a couple of times. We saw it quite early on in the season against Arsenal as well, where Welbeck does drop in and then, a long
Mm.
ball, a longer pass is on. So I think it's probably down to the manager and what he's been implementing. And now I'd say mostly everyone's fit. So I'm hoping that continues and that continues to grow, and we see different variations and other patterns of play.
Yeah, it's definitely a pattern of play you can tell they work on in the training ground. The Danny Welbeck dropping deep, then the runs in behind them being available and space to exploit. And then you like you say, you always just need someone on the end of it. And this time, Minter was there with his pace to just get in front of the fullback he was with and be there for the easy square.
Yeah, and there was also United penalty. I mean, Carlos Belieber.
Mm. I've just bigged him up, but I'm about to feel a bit bad for this.
Someone needs to tell him it's not WWE. What is he thinking?
The flying headlock. I think that's allowed in football. No.
No. I've noticed as well, Jamie, in the notes you put that what player did you put is at fault?
Oh yeah,
Or bad.
Verbruggen. Yeah,
No,
I think.
it's Believer's fault, mate. You can't
Oh
do
yeah.
that.
I mean, yeah, it's Believer's fault, right? Because you can't clothesline someone like it's WWE, like you say, or throw a headlock at him like he's your younger brother. That is true, but like, just know when to pass the ball and play it out. Like that's one thing. So that it all comes from Bart Verbruggen getting the ball and then playing a ball into a Yari when he clearly doesn't want it and isn't in a position to receive it. Yari standing flat-footed. He's not well. He probably should be expecting the ball a bit, but like he doesn't want the ball. He's surrounded by Xerxes in front of him and Ahmad, who's the only player on their team that really presses. That you don't give the ball to him there when there is someone with the intensity and with the aggressiveness, I guess, is probably a good word to describe Ahmad's pressing. And Verbruggen just passes it to him. So, of course, he loses it. And then Xerxes then in. And it was going to be a one-on-one. And then Belieber thinks, well, it's going to be a one-on-one anyway. I might as well clothesline you to give Verbruggen a chance to save it, Maybe it was tactical.
It was really weird though because I felt like Xerxes' touch just went the wrong way to where he
Wasn't good,
wanted it
yeah.
to go. So I don't know. I think he could have got round and cover eventually, but hey, Carlos Belieber is a man who amazes, plays absolutely unbelievable. But then he's just got that in him, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking like when he committed it, my hands went up and I was like, I swear he's done this like 3 times this season. And I think that is the third penalty he's given away this season. That's got to be the league. That's got to be the most in the league. So although these clubs, obviously he's so highly touted because of how good he's been this season, but this is something, if he is bought by another club like a Man City or wherever he eventually goes, and when we cash in on him, this is something that he needs to kind of get out of his game. The rashness, because he is a bit of a bull in a china shop. He's so good with his size and pushing the ball forward, driving forward, bodies bouncing off him. But then he sometimes doesn't know when to cool off and like go, oh, I don't need to rush and charge at Xerxes here.
Yeah, no, that is true. I do agree with that. Right, we're going to go for a short break, and when we're back, we're going to talk about the rest of the goals, and the second half dominance.
This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Brighton podcast. Now, Jamie, there was a little bit of controversy again, which we love. We love talking about referees in this podcast for some reason, and I feel like it's always me and you complaining about referees. What were your thoughts on the disallowed goal?
Well, yeah. So we kicked off the second half very quickly, very well again. I mean, we just are very good at starting halves. We got rewarded with the free kick, and then obviously Ayari miskicked that free kick, and it all falls to good fortune. With the actual disallowed goal, I'm gonna sound like a bit of a hypocrite here.
Uh-oh.
Because I know I said a couple weeks ago, I don't know whether you remember, we talked about the Aston Villa goal, or they had a penalty because João Pedro kicked the back of one of their foot. And I said that should never be given because he's not in possession of the ball. don't know whether the listeners remember that, whether you remember that. I'm going to go back on that because it was very similar of a situation today. And Van Hecker boots Dalot. And Dalot, granted, he's not in possession of the ball. He's just kind of like trying to clear it. And then Van Hecker boots him. I would say this one's a foul. But I would say the João Pedro one isn't a foul.
Right, I'm
a complete hypocrite.
I'm going to humour this. Explain the difference.
Well, the difference is the one with Aston Villa and João Pedro. I feel like João Pedro's pulling out of it. So, let John McGinn gets the foot there, gets his toe to the ball. I still don't know who it was. Let's say it's John McGinn. He gets his toe to the ball, and João Pedro is clearly trying to seize the ball, is going to boot it clear, but then sees McGinn's foot and thinks, "Oh, I won't. Oh, I'll pull out a little bit," but still connects. Whereas this one, I think this is the right decision because Dalot gets a touch, and Van Hecker, he boots him. I love how Van Hecker also just doesn't react. Dalot's on the floor crying. I don't know if you've ever booted the bottom of someone's boot before, but that is the most painful thing in the world. Van Hecker, robot, I'm convinced, because there's that left foot's made of carbon, because that he did not feel any effects. But yeah, he just leathers him, and then I'm thinking that's the difference. It's like one's trying to pull out, and one's just gone followed through.
I don't know. I'm getting the hint of bias here. I'll be honest. I think
no bias here because I actually think this one isn't a goal. I think they made the right decision. So if anything, I'm impartial. Don't listen to any of the previous podcasts.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's all the same thing. I think if you make contact, unfortunately, we're at a stage where if there is any contact, people go down. So referee has to give it. I don't know if Dalot was going to clear it. I don't know, do you know what I mean, what kind of chance he had to clear it. But he's kicked him. It's so obvious he's kicked him. So yeah. I didn't really have too much of a problem with that one there.
Yeah, I'm on your train now. Yeah, there we go. We can come. We can join together. We're on the same page.
Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page. I just wasn't sure where you stand because you change your mind every 10 minutes.
Next week, if something happens like this again next week, and it's against Brighton, then I'll say, "Oh yeah, we're actually getting screwed over now." So we'll see.
We'll see. Right, we need to talk about Mitoma. I mean, he is, I think, this season, the player that's frustrated me the most. Just because we know what he's capable of. He's got bags and bags of pace, trickery, and the amount of times I've said on this podcast, I've said, we need Mitoma to kick on. Oh, Mitoma scored. I hope he's going to kick on. I'm not going to say it this time, so I'm going to, leave the analysis to you, Jamie. What are your thoughts on his performance and goal?
Well, Minter and Mitoma today, deadly duo. They combined for the first goal, then they combined for the second goal. That is what we've been wanting to see all season out of our wingers, and we just haven't been getting that. So you are so right to be so hard on them and so disappointed by them because their output just hasn't been there. But I think today they were different. They were different level. They were much better than they had Dalot and Mazraoui scrambling so many times. They were pinned back. Dalot and Mazraoui, didn't really have much chance against them. They kind of both looked, Mazraoui and Dalot, they both kind of looked scared of engaging with Mitoma and Minter at times. And onto that point, that's kind of where the goal comes from. It's Minter having the ball and then Dalot just standing there, giving him space, not knowing whether he's going to run down the line or cut in. And he's just standing there thinking, I'll wait for you to make the first move. Minter, which I really like to see, is composed, has his head up, knows that Dalot's not going to dive in because then he can just quickly get past him, and just has his head up, puts a peach of a ball in. God, what a ball that is. And Mitoma is just more willing to win it than Mazraoui at the back post, and good commitment from Mitoma as well to basically collide with the post to try and score.
Yeah, poor Mazraoui, he got absolutely smashed into the pole. But do you know what? We'll take that. And I do agree with you on your point there as well. And I think, especially playing against a back five, you need wingers who are a threat, who are going to push those wing backs back. Because the further you get the wing backs back, the more control you have in the game. And like you're saying, Ugarte and Mainu, that means that they have to cover more ground because the wing backs are not coming up and supporting those wide areas. So it was good to see our wingers being a constant threat throughout the game. And I said I wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to say it. But it has to continue for us. If we're going to progress forward, it has to continue like this. I do not want to see any more stinkers from Mitoma and missed kicks from Minte. It's just frustrating, isn't it?
You've jinxed it now. I hate to say it. They're going to have poor performances for the next month now. Oh, cheers, Bless.
Oh, well, I mean, you can all blame me then. Right, the next goal, Jorginho Ruta, who I was a bit surprised he didn't start, to be honest. But I guess with Welbeck back, João Pedro fit, and possibly Hurzeler looking at the wings and thinking we need directness and pace. He's gone for Minte, so obviously Ruta coming on. I think he's always a good sub to bring on because he's very energetic, and like you were saying, at half time, I don't know what Hurzeler says to these men, but they come out ready to go. They're pressing hard. What do you think of his goal?
I mean, on your point of him coming on, what a super sub to have as well. He was phenomenal when he came on. Came on with so much energy and they just couldn't really cope. And I'm really happy it kind of all started actually from the goal. Let's face it, the goal was an absolute howler by Onana. He might be the worst keeper in the Premier League. And I've just seen Woodhouse or whatever, Wharton for Ipswich concede 6. And I'm thinking Onana is at least on par with this guy. He's gifted as a goal. This guy loves to parry things out into no man's land where none of his defenders can get it and it goes straight to the opposition. So we'll take that, Onana. That's an easy finish for Ruta. But it kind of epitomizes Ruta's performance, that goal. He's never and him in general, to be honest, he's never willing to give up on the cause. Even if it's a lost cause at times, if he's pressing by himself, let's say, he will still give 100% energy and still try and win the ball back. And it was like this. Onana, it's a nothing ball into the box by Yari. Onana parries it in just for no reason, can't pick that up. I don't know how he's a professional keeper, to be honest. If you can't pick that up, that is actually questionable. But Ruta is there, pounces on it before De Ligt, and because he can sense the chance that there is actually something to be won here, or to get a goal from here, and then nice calm finish to round it off.
Yeah, I think it's unreal instincts because when that cross does come in, it should be routine, to be honest. And you see most strikers even just stop running forwards if the ball's that bad and it's going straight to the keeper like that. It should be a routine sort of gathering for Onana, but I have no clue what he's done there. I mean, we'll take it. We cannot complain with that. I'll take that. And like you say, really does epitomise what Root is about, endeavour and just pressing and working hard. So it's good to see him, back in the goals as well. Right, we are going to go for another short break and we'll be back for the last segment to talk about our standout players.
Do you have a story to tell that the world needs to hear? Have you struggled with reaching new audiences who engage with your story? It might be time for you to start a podcast. Let me tell you about a platform we use here at Global Sports Podcast Network. Zencastr makes it easier to start a high-quality podcast built for growth from day one. With 4K video recorded from your phone and AI editing that automatically moves ums, ahs, you knows, and 22 other speech patterns. Zencastr makes it super easy to start a podcast that sounds great. Ready to tell your story? Check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Brighton podcast. Jamie, one player I wanted to talk about actually is João Pedro, and I don't think he's necessarily been quiet recently, but I think that not having Welbeck, we've not been able to see the best version of João Pedro. And now Welbeck's back. Do you think there is, all the opportunity now to kick on?
Yeah, I think this was a warm up game for the both. I think they were very good. Or I think Welbeck was better than Pedro today. But I think, yeah, like you say, it's really good just to see them back playing together because you can see, even in flashes of this game, like them linking up, them both rewarding each other with like chances, and both being a threat for each other. So yeah, I'm really optimistic for them going forward, and I think as long as touch wood, they can both stay healthy, then I think. And like we said, when they started playing together, this is like such a beautiful partnership, and it's one that like they complement each other so brilliantly.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think for the way keeps setting up, I think Welbeck's so important just to keep that ball up there, make it stick. And also, I really do like the pair dropping in and the wingers flying forward.
Hmm.
That's worked to a treat in this game as well. Were there any other standout players for you?
Yeah, so we've sung the praises of Minter and Matoma. We've praised as well Ruta, but my man of the match today was Yasin Ayari. I just cannot believe we got him for so cheap. He's so young, and he plays against players like Cove Maynor, who's been to the Euros final and starts for England. Ugarte, who's 50 million. He's next to the prodigy of Belieber, and I thought he was the standout midfielder today. That's how, and I guess he's also up against Bruno Fernandes, who for the last 5 years has been Man United's saving grace and one of their only good performers. And yeah, it's Ayari that catches my eye leaving the game today or from finishing watching the game today. He was everywhere. Like going forward, exceptional. He got the rewards with the Onana cross. It was a cross to nobody, but he was in the space to get the ball played to him and then deliver some sort of cross to like just because of what could happen. Like we saw it happen. The goal comes from it, but it's just I'll kick this ball into the box and test the keeper, see if he's up for it. We also saw with our second goal of Minter and Matoma. Before that, it all comes from Ayari intercepting the ball in the middle, skipping past Ugarte like he's not there, like having the pace to get past, like continue driving forward where Ugarte couldn't catch him up, and then gets fouled before he played it off to Minter. That all comes from him, and then you see it like a couple minutes after that, he's down the other end of the field, blocking Ahmad's shot, and it's like this guy was just absolutely everywhere, and I think he is such a special player in terms of his mentality. I think he is so keen to always prove himself, be in the squad, but also show like Hurzeler, this is what I'm about, this is the kind of player I am, and his work ethic is undeniable.
Yeah, that's it. I think I totally agree with you. I think his endeavour as well just works so hard. He's everywhere. He's sounding the ball as well, and it just makes me think though. When he was first coming into Brighton, I wonder what the plan was for him. Like
Mm.
I don't know if it was for him to be a starter and actually be regularly involved in Premier League matches like he is now, but he must be impressing in some way or another. So like he again he strikes me as a player who's wanting to prove himself day in day out and his worth. Because when I first saw the team sheet, I think it was Everton first game of the season. I was like,
Mm.
throwing him in already. Do you know what I mean? Everton as
So
well,
true.
as Everton are quite a physical
Yeah.
side, so I was worried about him. But yeah, he's definitely held himself up.
Yeah, and you mentioned that they're a physical side, Everton. He is so interesting because I've got it listed here that he's 172 centimeters, which is I think 5'8". I'm a
Yeah,
169 and I'm 5'7". If for all those that want to know, if they were. So we're not the tallest.
flaunting it.
Flaunting my tininess. So yeah, but let's say he's 5'8", if that's the right conversion. He plays so much bigger, and that's like I see him on TV. I'm like, there is no way this guy is 5'8". I feel like I know he's only 21, so maybe he's had a growth spurt before they measured him again. But they need to start remeasuring this guy because he is not 5'8". He plays like he actually is strong as well. Like people like bounce off. I say bounce off him. He's got very good balance, I would say. Like if he gets knocked, he doesn't go down. Like he is able to continue fighting and trying to win the ball. So yeah, it's really. I think the where he wants to prove himself comes from. I think we bought him like a couple years ago for 900k. I could be completely wrong in that, but I feel like we bought him for 900k from AIC. So he's got a very low fee, and now he's just uses that like a chip on his shoulder to go, I'm much more valuable than that, and you guys will all see that. And then yeah, I think he's also someone that we could keep hold of. So
Yeah, I
that's
think he's a good he would be a good squad player as well if we were to maybe see Matt O'Reilly come into that position, uh, because he can play in lots of different other I think he can do a job on the wing as well. So he's a very very good player. Right, we are going to come to an end, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've been Blessed Shabamba. We've been talking about Brighton's amazing 3-1 win at Old Trafford. It's becoming a bit of a stomping ground at the moment, and we absolutely love it. Thanks for listening, guys.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.